good to be back in Dallas. Once again, passing through the airport, coming back from Madras. This is today's day for me will be a 39-hour day. 39 hours because of the fact that in the airport at midnight in Madras, and then flying from Madras to Hong Kong, then from Hong Kong to here, and then with the date change, going because they remember they live in the future over there, and so. And because of the date to cross the international date line, it's the afternoon. I left this morning. In fact, I left Hong Kong theoretically 4 hours ago, which was actual time 16 hours ago, and then arrived. We was a little bit late, but then we arrived here pretty much on time. Then after coming out to the wrong Hyatt, and coming out of they come out of immigration right at the Hyatt, but the Grand Hyatt, the other one, and so I couldn't find the room. And then they had to wait for the bus to come around here to Concourse C. So I arrived, went quickly through immigration, quickly out, and then couldn't find a place. So ended up being delayed anyway. But in any case, it's good to be back. I've been gone for a little more than a month. Just a due consideration with the Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Amen. Maybe just arriving back in America after being gone for a little more than a month, going literally around the world. Started going to Ireland, and then to England, and then to France, and then to Singapore. I'm to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, which is only a few hours away from Singapore, and then down to India, and then from India up to the Philippines, and then about 3.5 weeks or so in the Philippines, visiting our places there in the Philippines, also seeing my brother in the Philippines. Then back to Singapore, just on my way here, came back to Scenic Rock because it was cheaper to come that way, and also gave me an opportunity to see the new superior. Met Father Stalin, the new superior in Asia. And so I met him and said, that I'm a priest of Asia. And he took Father Couture's place on August the 15th. And I met him on August the 18th in headquarters. Last time I was there was to receive my expulsion papers on October the 3rd. 2012. I've been to Singapore several times since then, but the last time I was in the headquarters inside the priory of the society was that day, October 3rd, 2012, and then a couple of days ago, and then just actually, I guess it was yesterday, or 2 days ago, meeting with Father Stalin, the new superior, and I mentioned to him, he said, what is it you expect of me? I said, well, I expect you to join the resistance. And he said, well, I'm going to be a representative of the voice of Bishop Follet, and whatever is coming out of the mouth of Bishop Follet is what I'm going to be a representative of. And so why are you? What we discussed for about an hour. I mentioned to him that to look at him in the same way that we look at the local bishop, that he is my superior, Father Stalin, since I'm a priest of Asia, and he is my superior whom I am disobeying. And he said, well, if you accept me as a superior, you're disobeying, you must also accept Bishop Follet. I said, I also accept Bishop Follet as my superior, but I am also disobeying because of the faith. And so the reason why I'm here to meet with you is to tell you the reasons, the essential reasons. No need to go into a long argument or discussion. As Father Stalin said, you're not going to convert me, and I'm not going to convert you. So we'll just lay out where we stand, and mention to him that we are in a battle of the faith, and that the reason why I'm disobeying Father Stalin, who as of August the 15th became my new superior, and he said that you're above my pay grade, you're not my problem right now, you have to deal with Bishop Follet. I said, well, I see as the new superior, because the fact that in the same way that the local bishop is the superior of the diocese, and the Pope is the superior of the church. The Holy Father is the Pope, and then the bishop of the diocese is the local bishop. And then my Society of St. Pius X, Bishop Father Stalin is my superior in Asia, and Bishop Follet the superior of the whole society. And just like I am obliged as a Catholic priest to disobey the local bishop, because the local bishop is teaching another faith, and because the local bishop is saying the new Mass, and I am required to disobey the Holy Father, because the Holy Father is teaching another faith, and the Holy Father is leading souls away from the Catholic Church. Therefore, I disobey him also. And this disobedience is an obligation. It's an obligation. It's not a matter of choice. If someone commands you to do that which is sinful, you are obliged to disobey. It's not an option. You can't say, well, I was told to do something wrong by a legitimate superior, so I've got a choice. I can either do something wrong, and it's not my problem because he's the boss, or I can not do what he says because it's wrong. And there is actually a group that believes that there is an option. But when it comes to obedience, there is no option. So the legitimate superior gives a command. It must be obeyed, or it must be disobeyed. And neither way is not an option. And so, mention those things briefly to Father. That, that right now there is the problem of the new society is it is expressing and defending the official position put out in the general chapter of 2012. And Father Stalin told me, I fully stand behind this general chapter and all of his decisions. He fully stands behind the 6 conditions. He fully stands behind the teaching of the general chapter of 2012. And this chapter, mentioned to him, is against the faith. And therefore, I have to speak out against it. And so that our fight is not because of personal problems. Our fight is not because we like this priest, or we don't like that one, or we don't like Bishop Fillet, or we don't like this superior, we don't like that superior. That's not our battle. Our battle is a battle of the faith. It is a battle of an essential battle regarding the faith and the direction of the society as St. Pius X down the last 40 years. So it was good. We had a good meeting. It was an hour. And then he was superior in Asia, and then also during the course of this visit, was able to visit more or less more than 800 of our faithful throughout a few in England, a few in Ireland, but the majority, of course, in Asia. Visiting a family in KL, and then of course in India, saying Mass in India for some of our faithful. And then around the Philippines, so visiting more than 800 faithful in this trip. The resistance is slowly growing and slowly stabilizing. Was not able to go to Australia. Father Chazelle was in Australia. We'll visit Australia again another time. But the other places we're able to visit and cover the Masses in the absence of Father Chazelle, who was over here in the United States for a little time. And then I went over there. We had a meeting also of priests in France. There were 18 of us priests and Bishop Williamson meeting in Avrier, France, in early, around July the 15th and July the 16th. And then during that meeting, there were about 28 priests represented, with 11 priests there in Avrier. Only 2 of them or 3 of them were attending the conferences, but there were 28 priests there on the property at the time. And so we had this meeting of the resistance in France with the other priests, and no major accomplishments in the meeting, but it was good to see the other priests, and they're beginning to make inroads at the beginning of doing something in France. And then also was able to visit a few of our priests that are helping us in India, Father Valen, and of course in Philippines, Father Suelo. And we're visiting our chapels. But in any case, the battle, remember that we're fighting, it continues, and our parishes are slowly growing. Remember, our first Mass was September the 16th, 2012. September the 16th, 2012, 2 Masses, Father Chazelle and myself, 2 priests, 1 faithful, in Manila in the Philippines. Now, since that time, in less than 2 years, we have more than 2,000, between 2,000 and 3,000 faithful gathered in places like this all throughout the world. And more requests. Just in the last month, 3 more places requesting the Mass. One, of course, including Switzerland, and another, Nigeria, plus 3 other places here in the United States requesting the Mass. And there's a continual increase of requests. Also, 2 other priests in France joined the resistance in the last month and last month and a half, Father Pico, and then the other priests who were there at the meeting came out publicly, Father Biver and a couple of other priests in the last couple of months. So there's about 70 of us priests now, and in the various places throughout the world, South America, and here in the United States, and then of course in Asia, and also in Europe. And things are beginning to take shape a little bit more. But we have to remember that our battle must be kept on the plane of the faith. On the plane of the faith. There are problems of corruption. There are problems of immoral behavior on the part of superiors. There are scandals going on within the society and in tradition. And these are signs of a deeper problem. But also the scandals by themselves are not a sufficient reason to do what we're doing. We have to do what we're doing because we're standing on the truth of the faith and how to fight against modernism in our present crisis. And we also are seeing to travel around the world those people that are staying with the mainstream society as well as the priests. I spoke with my brother, Father Tim Pfeiffer, for 5 hours in Davao. And we had a little civil war in the Philippines, with his brother against brother. We had a little meeting of 5 hours, and we had a little... we invaded Davao and were repulsed from Davao. Then over in Zamboanga, in this territory, we're increasing in Zamboanga, increasing in Iligan, increasing in Camiguin, which are 3 places that are in the territory of Father Tim. And then, but we had a discussion with Father Tim for 5 hours, and each time there's a little more of a slide, a little more of a slide. Now deciding that the conditions are no longer a compromise. The 6 conditions were terrible 2 years ago to Father Tim. Now the 6 conditions are no longer a compromise. And that no one believes. He says nobody believes in the doctrinal declaration of 2012, the one that we continually quote and Archbishop and Bishop Fillet continually defends, including 3 weeks ago when he told Father Pico that everything in that declaration is perfectly in conformity with the Catholic faith and that there's nothing wrong in it. He continues to repeat that. It is in writing. He repeats it when speaking to the priests. And what does he say? New Mass is legitimate. New Mass is legitimate equals a lie. And remember, if you are given the choice to accept a lie, any lie, or be martyred, you're obliged to accept martyrdom. Even a venial lie. A lie is intrinsically evil. And to accept a lie equals a sin. No Catholic can accept a lie, especially serious lies, such as the lie that says that the new Mass is legitimate. Why do we say it's a lie? It's a lie for us because we know it's not legitimate. For someone who's in the Novus Ordo, it's an error. They don't know it's not legitimate. They think it is legitimate. So for them it's an error. But for us, it's more than an error. It's a lie. When you know something is not true, and yet you make a statement of that which you know is not true, that's called a lie. That is far more serious than making an error, than making a mistake. The people that go to the Novus Ordo Mass, the priests that say the Novus Ordo Mass, they are in error. They are making mistakes. But only God knows what is in their hearts, but they're not guilty necessarily of lying. But we members of the Society of St. Pius X, who have studied the Catholic faith in this crisis very clearly, who have been trained to fight against the crisis of the new Mass and the crisis of Vatican II, know that to say the new Mass is legitimate equals a lie. To accept that is objectively a sin. That's why Father Giselle put in his little note. The priests in France thought it was a little bit too strong, and so they changed the words. But Father Giselle put in the note to be sent to all the priests of the society. The Society of St. Pius X is in a state of objective sin. It's in a state of objective sin, meaning that the Society of St. Pius X is no longer expressing the truth as it should be expressed, and as we stand, as the state of truth that we are supposed to be standing on. So our crisis does continue. And what's the solution to the crisis? To do exactly what Archbishop Lefebvre did. Another priest called me just a few days ago, saying it's so important. This priest is one of the many priests who's almost joined us, and almost joined us, and almost joined us, I don't know how many times in the last 2 years. But almost, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So they've almost joined us, and almost joined us, and almost joined us. And this is one of the priests, or several of the priests, one of the priests was recently calling me, one of the almost joiners, says, you know, it's absolutely necessary that there be a global organization, that there be a continuation of the work of the Society of St. Pius X, as Archbishop Lefebvre founded it, because there's a global crisis. And it is a global crisis of the faith, which is Vatican II. And Vatican II and modernism continues. Only now it continues within our society. And what's the result of just continuing to go to the regular masses, continuing to participate in the slide of the society, is that we slide with it. You can, if a ship is going from going down, and you are running up on an escalator, that's going down, and the ship is going down, you're running up on an escalator, just like Inspector Clouseau. You're going up on an escalator, and the ship is going down. You're walking up on the escalator, and the escalator is going down. You're going down with the ship. Doesn't matter if you're walking in the other direction. You are traveling with the ship. And if the ship is going down and you remain on the ship, you're going down with the ship. And if the ship is going down and the ship is not going to stop from going down, then we have to get off the ship, get into a lifeboat, and go in another direction. And so we can't go into off of the Niagara Falls. We have to stay in the right direction and not in the wrong one, and stay in our battle being a battle of the faith. And so the people in Asia are standing very strong. It was very encouraging to meeting the people in our little chapels everywhere. Father Giselle built already 2 little chapels in Leyte. We have 2 little small little concrete / bamboo chapels in Leyte. Our parish, our largest parish, is in Maasin. We don't yet have a chapel there, but we're looking already to build the chapel in that area. We was able to meet with a couple of the 2 seminarians that are there in the Philippines, who traveled a little bit together, gave them very brief classes because there wasn't much time to meet with the seminarians over there in the Philippines. And so we have a couple of seminarians in the Philippines, another prospective seminarian who will be going to the seminary in fact this week we'll be going to the seminary there in the Philippines. And then meanwhile we're trying to continue getting the visas for the seminarians there to come over here to the United States, and getting closer to be able to bring them over here. And so that the things are developing, and also in Ireland now, Father Buffet is helping with our Mass Center. Up until 1 month ago or 2 months ago, the only time they got Mass is when I came over to Ireland and said Mass. Otherwise they had no Mass in Dublin, because Father Buffet, who's a priest of the Resistance in Ireland, is taking care already of 4 chapels. His health is not the best. He was not able to take care of the 5th chapel. Now he's able to come periodically and help take care of the 5th chapel, so that it won't have to maybe go over. I mean, I'll still go over to Ireland to help the people, but it won't have to worry about it in the same degree as we were worrying about it before, because some of the priests are beginning to help over there. And meanwhile, Father Fuchs is trying to take care of the people in Europe, in the west side. And also there is, however, developing at the same time a little sedevacantist battle amongst 2 of the priests who are being tempted by the sedevacantist disease. And the other priests are trying to say, well, we don't want to be too hard on sedevacantism, because these 2 priests are fighting with this problem. And so we repeated, meeting with the superiors, the various superiors in the Resistance, the various priests, most of them were there in France. We must stand for the same position of Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre, do exactly what he did, no need to change anything, no need to reinvent the wheel, no need to make a new doctrine, no need to find a better way to express the faith. All we have to do is exactly what he did. And he didn't do anything new either. He did exactly what John de Brito did, which is why we wear the red sash in India. He did exactly what St. John de Brito did when he was in Tamil Nadu. He did exactly the same as St. Francis Xavier did when he was all over the Asia bringing the faith. And then also, by the way, another practical thing, the body of St. Francis Xavier is going to be brought down. His body is incorrupt, and once every 10 years, his body is about 20 feet in the air, and an altar that built up to the altar and built up with marble and carvings all around it. His body sits 20 feet in the air, and you can only see the side of his nose and the side of his hand from the ground. Said Mass in front of that altar many times, but only once every 10 years they take the case down and put it inside the cathedral so people can come and venerate the body of St. Francis Xavier. This year is that year, in 2014. The body will be brought down in the end of November of 2014, right before the novena of December the 3rd. It will remain down until early January 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, and then go back up. And we're going to try to have a little pilgrimage, pilgrimage to the body of St. Francis Xavier. We'd like to bring some people from here, also from Malaysia and from the Philippines, and of course also from India, to make a little pilgrimage to St. Francis Xavier. And we're going to try to get permission. We have contact with the local authorities to be able to go in to the church when it's closed, because there's going to be probably another 500,000 pilgrims that will be visiting. The extra 500,000 pilgrims will be passing by the body. And so we will try to go into the church when it's closed to be able to say Mass at the body of St. Francis Xavier and do an old veneration of St. Francis Xavier's body at midnight when the church is closed. So hopefully we'll be able to do that and to get past a few of the bumps and bruises to be able to do that. But we'll certainly be able to go. We'll try to make a little trip to India. So it's just the other side. I just came from there this morning. So I was at midnight. I was in Madras, so now I'm here. And it's only 4 in the afternoon, 6 in the afternoon, so it's no problem. So and so that we hopefully will be able to do that. Meanwhile, some of the future vocations are coming. So here, just that the general report is that we're growing. More priests are joining the resistance. It's just a steady, slow development. More and more people are opening their eyes every day to see that there has been a change of faith, not just a matter of simple corruption or personal problems, but a change of faith that has happened, a change of doctrine that has happened, and that many souls don't want to go along with a change of doctrine within the Society of St. Pius X. They want to maintain their tradition. And so be encouraged that it's a global fight, like Father Thomas Aquinas says. From Brazil is very encouraging and a sign of providence blessing us that we're seeing the same reaction of faith by groups of faithful everywhere in the world. And in this trip I was able to visit more than 800, I have a total count, maybe 900 faithful on this trip. Whereas 2 years ago it started with maybe, at the end of our first little journey, maybe about 200. And so now from 200 it's about 1,000. It was more than 1,000, but I was able to see about 900 of them. And meanwhile it increases. Father Vallen is building an old folks home. We're building little chapels. A couple of Novosolo priests. We have 3 Novosolo priests that are considering joining our resistance. They're bypassing the Fraternity of St. Peter. They're bypassing the mainstream Society of St. Pius X, and they're coming straight to us. And so we're seeing that also with a few other priests. That's in Asia. Then there's other priests also contacting us from the Novosolo as well, from this side of the world as well. And so the conversions are beginning to come. It's a slow process. And it's actually been quick when you look at the last 2 years. But the visit was a good visit overseas. And so just pray for the priests, pray for the faithful, that we persevere in the faith and maintain this fight of the faith. And also I believe very much that we are very, very close, extremely close to the victory of the Blessed Virgin Mary. We're extremely close to this mass conversion that will happen when the Pope, out of necessity, consecrates Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, finally obeys Mary against his own will. And that the chastisement has already begun, but the chastisement is going to increase, and the crisis is going to increase, and then the Blessed Virgin will bring the miraculous victory. And I believe we're very, very close to that. All we need to do is persevere one more day, one more day, one more day. And remember, each day is a day closer to the victory of Mary. And so let's persevere in this battle of the faith. Be encouraged, and know that sometimes many souls are going a very long time without the Mass, and so you just have to persevere. All right, we'll close with that, and God bless you all, in the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost.